Hey guys, good morning and welcome to another episode of Motorcyclist MC Commute. You guys know the deal. We're going to be riding to the motorcyclist office in Southern California on BMW's 2020 S1000 XR. So let's throw the helmet on and go for a ride.
Alright guys, here she is, BMW's 2020 S1000 XR. This is BMW's redesigned adventure sport bike. Adventure sport, what the heck is that? I bet you're wondering. Well, the adventure sport category was originally started by Ducati with its multistrada once it went to the 1198cc L twin engine. BMW's carried the torch. They've made a motorcycle with the heart of a superbike. Literally, this thing is powered by BMW's sensational S1000RR powertrain. Now, the S1000RR was fully revamped in its third iteration, I believe, for the 2020 model year. So since the S1000XR is based off the S1000RR, the 2020 XR got the same level of modification. So it inherited the new 999cc inline-four. It also uses an all-new chassis, new frame, new swing arm, new suspension, new electronics package, ride-by-wire. BMW really elevated things with its 2020 S1000RR, and this S1000XR also inherits all of those features. I really like the look of this bike. Look at the front end on that thing. The thing looks mean. LED headlights are bold and bright. We rode at night and we'll show you how bright these lights are. Very comfortable motorcycle, nice upright riding position, deep seat. But enough talking about it. Let's hop on this thing and see what it's like to ride. Alright guys, we've got keyless entry. This S1000XR does without a key. Everything's keyless. Thank God they put a little pocket here where you can put this key so you do not lose it. For that reason, I'm okay with the keyless entry. Let's power her on, push that button, starter button, and away we go. Right away, hopping on this S1000XR, it's really impressive how well sort out the ergonomics package is. I really like this seat. This seat has a huge dish in it, and it positions your bottom in it just like unbelievably. It's like you're on this perfectly made glove for your posterior. So seat's very comfortable. The handlebar, a lot of these big adventure touring style bikes have these swept back handlebar setup, and this S1000XR is no different. So a lot of rearward sweep. BMW made the handlebar a little bit more narrow for 2020. The position of the rider is also more forward. So very comfortable motorcycle to ride. This two-position adjustable, manual adjustable windscreen is another nice touch. Right now we have it in the high setting, but you flip it like this and now it's in the low setting. So if you want a little bit more air in your face or want to feel the breeze more, you put it in the setting. If you want to be sheltered from the elements, you put it in the high setting. I really like that. This motorcycle also has cruise control. Thank you God. I love bikes that have cruise control. That is an option, and it's grouped together with one of BMW's option packages. Speaking of options, this bike also has BMW's fabulous Gear Shift Assist Pro, which is basically BMW term for an electronic quick shifter up and down, so you can operate the 6-speed transmission without having to use the clutch. Up shifts are as easy as just lifting up the shift lever. Down shifts are as easy as pressing down on the shift lever. And I really like this feature. I always talk about how much I like it, and that's just because it makes for a more pleasurable riding experience. It also boosts the chassis stability, especially when you're going around turns at speed and you're able to downshift that lean, that little bit of that minute split second of unloading the transmission with the clutch, that is gone away with the electronic quick shifter. The back of the bike is just always in full loaded contact with the pavement, and I like that. It allows you just to ride the bikes very, very hard in the corners. Speaking of riding the bikes hard in the corners, we actually spent some time riding this thing in the canyons as a little bit of a extra credit thing for all of you guys watching. And this bike is very capable at speed in the canyons, and in that setting it really reveals the updates BMW has done to the 2020 S1000 XR. Right away when I was riding in the canyons, it was just apparent that what BMW's done is they've given the XR, the S1000RR super agility works treatment. If you checked out our review of the S1000RR on motorcyclistonline.com or watched the video, you'd know that we were really impressed with its 600 like levels of agility. And this S1000 XR is a very agile bike for 500 pounds. I mean, this thing weighs 500 pounds. This thing is exceptionally agile. BMW totally overhauled the chassis, sharper rake, new swing arm, new frame, suspension components are new, and this bike is just very agile, yet it's stable. 6 inches of suspension travel forward aft. This thing goes around the bumps very nice. It delivers a nice ride on the street. When you're really getting after it in the canyons, this bike has a little bit, it comes unglued a little bit. I wouldn't say, you know, to be fair, this motorcycle is still in break-in mode. It's still in break-in mode. We only have 276 miles on the odometer. Now, to get it out of break-in mode, you have to achieve 600 road miles and then bring it to your BMW dealership, and they will service it, which includes changing the engine oil, and then they unlock the ECU. And when the ECU is unlocked, it gives you full access to the power of the engine. Right now, the rev limiter cuts things off right around 9,000 RPM. So, as you can see, it won't rev faster or higher than 9,000 RPM, and that's because the ECU is locked out. Now, this S1000 XR is equipped with BMW's electronic suspension. Electronic suspension, it is an option, and what that does is the electronic suspension automatically adjusts the calibration of the compression and rebound damping circuits in real time based on vehicle load and rider control input. So we spent the majority of the mode riding yesterday in the road mode. Right now we have it in dynamic. There's a couple modes here. We've got rain, road, dynamic, and then dynamic pro, which gets unlocked when you service the motorcycle. And the difference between the riding modes, just like the F900 XR and F900R that we tested earlier in the year, it's really hard to feel much of a difference between these modes. We'll have to reserve judgment until this motorcycle gets unlocked and it's serviced to really be able to dissect that. But it's neat to know that BMW offers these riding modes based on conditions. If it's wet or raining out, you can put it in rain mode and it just makes for an easier motorcycle to control. Obviously, Dynamic and Dynamic Pro give more aggressive throttle mapping settings and reduced traction control intervention. Traction control is standard on the S1000XR. You can manually disable it if you'd like by pushing this button. And it's the good traction control. It's IMU powered. So there is an inertia measurement unit. It's the same chip that your iPhone or Samsung smartphone has, and it gives the motorcycle positional awareness on the road in terms of the X, Y, and Z. I'm sorry, X, Y, and Z axis. So the motorcycle knows where it's on the road, and if it is in a position where it is at too much lean or too much pitch with too much brake application or throttle application, the electronics help counteract that and bring more stability to the motorcycle. So kudos to BMW for having that as a standard feature. They've been doing traction control for a very long time now, so, and their system is at the top of the realm of motorcycling. Cruising here at 69 miles per hour. This engine has some vibration to it. It's not as much vibration as the previous gen S1000RR engine, but there still is some vibration there. BMW overhauled the way the handlebar mount goes into the triple clamp. The damping system in that is different, and it reduces the vibration and the quell of the shaking of the handlebar. There still is some there, but it's reduced versus the previous S1000XR. This engine, you can definitely feel, I mean, it has that S1000RR character. It's got a little bit of vibration, it's got some bark to it. You know, it's definitely a pretty aggressive engine. I mean, BMW has done really good things to smooth out the power delivery and make it more useful, but it's got some bark to it. Clutch is nice and light, has good feel. The last time we dyno tested the S1000XR with the 2016 S1000XR engine configuration, it made right around 150 horsepower. BMW claims this thing's good for right around 160, 165. Now, it's important to note that this inline-four engine does not employ BMW shift cam. BMW shift cam is a variable actuation camshaft that works on the intake side, which adjusts valve timing based on engine load, and this bike does not employ it. The R1250 GS does, and the S1000RR does, but BMW decided not to fit that on this motorcycle, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, I like the shift cam, but it's nice not having on this motorcycle. You feel no step in terms of acceleration. The engine still has good grunt down low and up top. I mean, up to 9,000 RPM. But at the same time, this motorcycle is thirsty. It is very, very thirsty. If we go into the onboard computer, you can see we've been getting 31.7 miles per gallon. 31.7. Now, to be fair, we're always riding these motorcycles at a relatively elevated pace, but still 31.7 mpg isn't the greatest, especially considering that we can only rev this thing to 9,000 RPM. So how fast can we even really go with it, to be fair? So a thirsty engine, that's one of the negative features about this engine not employing BMW shift cam. This 6.5-inch color TFT display, it's not touchscreen. Instead, we use BMW's multi-wheel function here on the handlebar. BMW has been using this type of menu navigation system since they started it with the K1600 GTL, I think, way back in 2012. So it's a nice system. It takes some getting used to, but it generally works well. I like the fonts on this thing. I like the crispness. I like that all BMW motorcycles now employ, not all of them, but you know, all of the medium-sized and top-line bikes have this. Basically everything except the 310 GS and 310 R. And it's a very slick setup. Yes, touchscreen functionality would be nice, but I guess you can't have everything. This thing's loaded with BMW's tire pressure monitoring, all options on this motorcycle. You can check the tire pressure right there on the screen. 35.6 in the front, 41.7 in the rear. Very handy feature. And if you're a rider who's going to be doing distance cruising or touring, I would absolutely pick this motorcycle. It's very comfortable at an upright pace. Yes, we feel engine vibration in the controls right now, but I could live with it. Alright guys, we're on the freeway for a while now. We'll check in back with you in a little bit here. Alright guys, welcome back. Now we're just getting off the terrible freeway drone and back to the BMW. We rode this thing a little bit after hours at night, and the LED headlamp on this bike is very bright. This thing also has optional fog lights, which can be activated via this switch here on the handlebar. Oddly enough, this bike doesn't have BMW's adaptive cornering headlamps, in which side headlamp beams illuminate the corner through turns. That's all IMU powered. This bike doesn't have that option, and to be honest with you, that option's nice. You know, when you're going around corners, if you've ridden a bike with cornering headlights and then you ride a bike without, it's almost a game changer where you don't want to ride bikes that don't have cornering headlamps. And cornering headlamps just allow you to ride at a quick pace through turns and be able to see the road in front of you. And when you can see the road in front of you unobstructed, you can ride fastly and you can ride safely. Alright guys, here we go. We talked real quick about how this engine doesn't have BMW shift cam. It's also worth noting that 4th, 5th, and 6th gear are now taller as compared to the transmission ratios in the S1000RR. The previous S1000XR had very short gearing. You know, that's one of the signature features of BMW's S1000RRs. It's got short gearing. That's one of the reasons it's able to accelerate so quickly, amongst the fact that it has 190 horsepower. But still, it was good that BMW lengthened that 4th, 5th, and 6th gear ratios. It just makes for more apt cruising at highway speeds, freeway speeds. It also probably helped with emissions and noise testing. I'm sure it allowed them to get away with a little bit more of that pleasing engine sound, which we already talked about. This thing has a bunch of it. Alright guys, we got traction control off. Let's give her the wheelie test. It's still on for whatever reason. Whoa! Alright, so power's up. Clutching you can't do because of the ECU lock. And this ride-by-wire throttle is nice, but man, that throttle is sensitive. That thing came up in a hurry. No backing it in due to ABS. Interesting. I give this thing a C grade on that whole endeavor. Well, that was a very comfortable ride on BMW's S1000XR. We're here at our office. Let's wrap this thing up. Alright guys, there it is, BMW's 2020 S1000XR. Very comfortable, very refined. I like that this bike has that S1000RR character. If you're the type of rider who wants to ride a sport bike, you like the feeling of a sport bike, the sound, the handling, the performance, but that riding position is just too uncomfortable for you, I think this S1000XR would be a good compromise. It doesn't handle quite as adeptly as a sport bike, obviously, but it's 7/10 of a sport bike, and it's upright, it's comfortable. You can bring a passenger, you can bring luggage with you, strap it on that luggage rack, and it looks awesome. All right, guys, let's do some Q&A real quick here on the Instagram machine. All right, one way to ride it, Dynamic Pro, and yeah, let's see that front wheel in the air. We can't do Dynamic Pro yet because we haven't broken in the motorcycle. How's the engine heat for Cali weather? This engine kicks off some heat, I'm not gonna lie. The engine definitely kicks off some heat. You're gonna feel it in your lower body, so you're gonna feel it. Would you recommend this for daily commuters? Absolutely. This is a very comfortable bike. It hauls butt, it's comfortable, it looks cool, it stands out on the road. I would absolutely recommend this for commuters. The only caveat is that i4 drinks the gasoline. It drinks it. So for extended range touring, it might not be so good. You got to remember the tank capacity is not that big. It's just over 5 gallons. So you're going to be burning a lot of fuel and going through it very quickly. Details on the M Sport package. BMW has finally synergized its M division from its automobiles. BMW M cars are world renowned as higher spec street cars outfitted with a variety of parts. This thing has a bunch of M parts on it. The carbon fiber fender, the carbon fiber rear hugger. It's about $1,700 worth of carbon fiber on this motorcycle, which elevates the price to almost $23,000. That's $5,000 more than the base S1000XR. How does this compare to 1290 SAS? It's been a while since I've ridden 1290. I can't remember. Have they eliminated the odd buzz at 5,000 RPM? There is no odd buzz at 5,000 RPM, but this engine does vibrate. It does vibrate less than the previous version of the S1000XR. Brakes, please. They switched to Brembo's, the BMW branded Haze, as they did on the 2020 RR. I've heard a lot and seen a lot of leaky calipers. There's no leaky calipers there. The brakes on this motorcycle work very good. The brake pad material is pretty aggressive. So it's pretty aggressive. There's a lot of feel there, a lot of sensitivity. The brakes on this motorcycle are awesome, but the pad material is a tad aggressive, which I like, but some people might not. Can it be used as a track weapon? Yeah, you could ride this thing at the track and you could wail. That center stand's really going to be a limiting factor, though. You can even grind that thing down when you're riding on the street. So I probably wouldn't ride this thing on the track. I mean, you could. I would probably just ride a sport bike and be done with it. Would you ride it on a long weekend trip? Yes, I would absolutely ride this thing on a long weekend trip. I grab a woman, throw her on the back, safely, of course, put my luggage on there, and have a great time. How much bigger does it feel in comparison to the new F900XR? Well, this is a inline-four versus a parallel twin. It's a lot bigger. This is a lot bigger motorcycle. It's heavier. It feels more substantial. But at the same time, for half the money, the F900XR is a pretty good deal. Here's one more question. S1000XR or 1250 RS? They seem like it's for the same market. That's a great question. Good job. That's a great question. The thing about the S1000XR is this bike is more S1000RR superbike based. So yeah, they're in the same category, sport touring, adventure sport touring, but this bike has got the heart of the S1000RR and it feels more like a sport bike, where the R1250 RS feels more like a GS bike. It's sportier, obviously, and it's a little bit sharper handling, has a little bit less features, a little lighter, but that's the thing. If you want more of the boxer twin GS experience, you go with the R1250 RS. If you want more of the superbike S1000R experience, you'd go with this. I personally would gravitate toward this bike over the R1250 RS. Not that I don't like the R1250 RS, I love that thing, but I'm more of a sport bike guy. Alright guys, that's a wrap. Make sure to subscribe to this channel, give us a thumbs up if you like this, and again, this is one of the routes we're going to be taking. That's still option 1. We're working on option 2 and 3. So thanks for watching guys, we'll see you next time.